What's up, YouTube? Welcome to this, I guess we call it Sunday storytelling. And last week I left the prompt, but I'm gonna I'm gonna curve that because I did write something. I wrote maybe like 3 paragraphs because it was like a short on the paper. It was like a short paper, so you write your thing to the end of the paper and end it off there. But since I'm mostly gonna be telling my stories, I decided to put that off to next week and extend it into a full on, like maybe like a chapter or something of a book or a story. Try to make them that long to make this something more enjoyable that, you know, you can listen to longer on your Sundays. But to replace that, I found one of the books that I was talking about in that first part when I was talking about what got me into doing this whole thing. I mentioned the book we wrote in high school, or the books we wrote in high school, with the 5 different books to make one, and I found mine right here. We always used to write in these composition books. As you can see, my character name right here was Dante Curacedo. Warning, way ahead. It was not heavily influenced by Shonen. It was heavily Shonen influenced. Naruto was like the biggest thing at the time, with like some bleach thrown in there, and it was just super Shonen influence. We used to get together, talk about One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, all that good stuff. And so when we wrote, of course, we wrote with the goal of having like those cool ass fight scenes, and I guess not too deep of a story, but I have mine. I looked through it a little bit. I'm gonna read the background today of my character because we all did backgrounds, and then we started the book. So I'm gonna do the background for my character. I think I have the character Hakeem wrote. I do the background for his character, and then the other 3 I may just start anew and make a new background for them, and then going forward, probably edit this as I put out more of the like story. So I try to mix in some of the writing prompts along with some of the stories that I want to tell from back in the days, revamped. So going forward, I would try to retell the story, but also put like some edit the story and the writing so it flows better and give it a little more depth and not just us doing some crazy shonen type stuff. Though I think that stuff's amazing still. So that was just a warning before I get into it. So don't be expecting, I guess, super deep. Expect probably, especially in this one, this background, that standard shonen sad background that leads to crazy heroicism and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna just start reading this, and let me know what you think if you want to hear more from the books of destiny. That's what they were called. So let's start. Okay, so let's start with the background for Dante Curacedo. I may fumble. I apologize in advance. Let's go. So Dante was born in a small village outside of the desert called Canton. At birth, the village sage warned the village of the boy. He warned that this kid would be special. Most people figured since he was the first son of 2 of the commanders of the Great War. To the village, he was a normal kid. He loved his mom and dad. He had friends. He got hurt. He cried, like normal kids. He was now 8 years of age when the most tragic event that would change his life happened. Dante was outside watering his mom's red desert flowers that sat at the windowsill when he heard a commotion coming from the center of town. He saw his father running towards him with concern in his eyes. "Lisa, get my sword!" he yelled. "Ren, what's going on?" she muttered back in confusion. "A bunch of Azura's army is here," he replied. I knew this day would come. I must help." Dante's mom grabbed Dante by the hand and pulled him away. There was a line of people leaving the village, mostly women and children and elderly. "Be safe and make sure you catch up to us," she said. With that, Dante's dad ran towards the fighting as they moved towards the desert. Mom, is Dad gonna be okay? After a pause, of course he will. The pause sent doubt through his veins. After a period of walking, they heard the battle cry of Azura's army approaching them. Then in view came soldiers, and one yelled, "No one escapes Azura's rule!" Suddenly, they attacked, killing women, children, without a second thought. Dante began to shiver in fear as he witnessed the slaughter before him. He grasped his mother tightly, not knowing when the end would come. Out of nowhere, a soldier snatched his mother away from him and taunted him. "You want your mother, little boy?" Suddenly, the wind began to pick up a bit around Dante as he grew scared. "Give her back," he cried. The soldier ripped her shirt partially and yanked her around as if she was a toy. The wind began to pick up a little more, and Dante didn't know what to do. He was paralyzed in fear. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Ren cut down the soldiers and from atop of a horse. Dante felt remorse. He was safe. His mom was safe. They could escape. They were all here. "Lisa, are you?" An arrow pierced his father's heart, knocking him from his horse. Dante's eyes widened, and everything around him began to blur. All he could hear was the beating of his own heart. "Father?" Dante fell to his knees as tears began to swell in his eyes. Pain rushing through his body. He buried his face in his hands. The sand around him began to pick up at great speed. "Father?" As he yelled, the sand began to flow fiercely and wildly, engulfing everything in the darkness of the sandstorm. Suddenly it became too dark for even Dante to see himself. He couldn't see his mother anymore. "Dante!" came a scream. Dante looked around, but felt alone. He began to panic and worry, but the more he panicked and worried, the storm raged stronger. Dante could only hear the scream of the women and children from behind the wall of sand. So Dante buried his face into his hands. Make it stop. Mom, make it stop," he sniffled. "Daddy's okay, right? You said he'd be okay. Just please, make it stop." Suddenly, the sand shot straight into the air, and a wall built around Dante. His body started to feel fatigued. He felt weak, and as he fell to the ground, unconscious, he grasped towards his mother. Hours passed before Dante began to gain consciousness again. He slowly awoke from what felt like a warm place. When he opened his eyes, he was surrounded by grass. He rose and wiped dew from his eyes. Where am I? He looked around and saw the bodies of soldiers, women, kids, and then his eyes landed on his parents. Dante crawled to them and began to shake them to wake up. "Mom, Dad, get up." He continued to try and try, to no prevail. "They're not getting up," a voice came from behind Dante. Dante turned around to see a strange man standing, and then he turned back and continued. "They are dead. You killed them," said the man. Dante got up out of rage and began to punch the man, who stood and took it. As tears filled his eyes, "They're not..." And the man grabbed his hand as he began to attack. "Stop. Now is the time to grow up, don't you think?" "But how did I do this?" "You're gifted. You have a unique ability, and I can show you how to control it." Why would you help me? What do you get out of this? When the time comes, you will repay your debt. Dante turned towards his parents. "I'm sorry," he whimpered. He then turned back to the monk. Can I give them a proper burial before we leave?" "As you wish." Dante and the monk buried the bodies in the new meadow. After saying goodbye to the graves of his parents, Dante grabbed his mother's rare flower and departed with the monk. After some time of travel, they arrived at the gates of a temple. The gates were tall and engraved with symbols that he was unaware of. "Follow me," I'm going to show you to the room. While walking and trolling the monk, Dante began to smell the scent of smoke from an open door up ahead. Just as the monk passed the door, a firebolt flew from it. Dante paused and then looked into the room where he saw a boy of similar age sitting there in a singed room. My bad. He just turned and kept going. Who is that kid? He's another like you. You're not the only one. The monk left Dante in his room and began to leave again. This is where I start to repay you. Ian. How I feel about that? It needs some work. Young me needs some work. I see a few writing flaws in that from younger me, and story flaws, because I put that his mother was a commander. Because how it was, there was, I guess I give you the overarching story. There's commanders out there, and like in this realm, there's like elements that people control, and Dante has two elements because his mom and dad was part of the Great War and commanders. So his mom would have put up a way better fight, I would think. But that was young writers. See, that's well, I figured I got better because picked up on those flaws. So going forward, that was kind of it was kind of hard to read because the text is as you can see, it's like fading in some places because it's pretty old. So it's kind of hard to read. So I'm sorry about the pausing. I'm sorry about the gaps and the going backs here and there. But hey, that was the old story. That was the background for Dante Curaceto. I still like the character, and I like what the chapters do after, because we do a time skip. We do the backstory, and then we time skip to a time where they're capable, because that's what we all like to see in the shonen. We know we have to go through that struggle beginning, but we like to see when the characters are capable. So that's what we did. We did the backgrounds, and then we went straight into when they're capable. So if you like that, let me know. I will try to get the other 5 if I can find them. I think I can only find Hakim's, or I may just continue read Dante's first chapter of the actual story and rewrite it a bit and share that with you. And no, I think it'd be best to introduce you to all the characters first. We'll introduce you to the cast so you can get to like them, and then we'll go into this, because we had a dope plan set out. Since we were all together, we planned the entire arc, and we had the ending, which I thought would have been dope. So yeah, thank you. This has been a Sunday story session. I think these will get better as we go forward. I'll get more comfortable here, be able to project more, gotta drink some water when we can, and yeah, we'll share more. So thank you for sitting through this. If you got some ideas you want to hear, if you want to throw some story ideas, and then I create a story through the week and bring it here to share, we can do that. I was thinking of doing something like that in like a Twitch or sometime. When I get a good decent enough following, we do a live story session where we build a main character together. We decide what genre we want to do, like if we want to write romance and action or horror, and then we build a setting and we throw the main character we built into this setting and just see what happens. Because when you put characters in these worlds, they're alive and you gotta let them do their thing. So we can talk about that later. Thank you for sitting here through another Sunday storytelling. I'll see you next week. Try to get you Thursday or Friday and then a Sunday. Thank you for sitting here. Bye. Oh yeah, before we go, not only did I find that, I found another book that I had. It was it's a book where it looked like starts to songs. ideas that we wrote back in the days. We used to just write about everything. So I made like someday get on here for some fun, and we just write some music or something. Just finish some of these old stuff, write some new stuff. So,
this night's just for me. Yeah, she just wanna be free. Yeah, she tryna party till 3 up all night. She said.